What's going on? Welcome back to Founder Fired. My name is Iggy Odighizuwa. I'm the founder of CharlieAI.io, an AI sales platform that helps you generate more sales outputs without having to spend more money on ads. Now, today's episode is going to be a little bit different because I got to give a keynote presentation for SalesCon, and today I want to essentially just give you that full training that I did. I broke down the 5 revenue leaks that high-ticket online businesses are bleeding, where they're bleeding sales every single month, and what you can do to fix it, and the 3 lies that are keeping most founders from solving and fixing those problems utilizing AI. So without further ado, hope you enjoy it. If you like it, comment and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
So guys, I have the pleasure of introducing our next speaker, who's also one of our sponsors, Iggy. So I've known Iggy probably 2, 3, maybe even 4 years back. I know we met at that ClickFunnels event, however many years ago. Iggy's a cool guy on a lot of levels. Number one, we'll talk about his company and what he does in a second. But Iggy is one of those people where when you meet him, you're like, he seems like a really good dude. And the reason why I say that, you kind of sometimes experience that with somebody up front. You're like, then you get to know him and you're like, nah, that was kind of a thing. That's not Iggy. He is exactly who he appears to be. He's a great family man. He's a man of faith, always looking to help somebody out, always has advice. And I've never once seen him take a shortcut in delivering a result for somebody, whether it's just somebody that asks for advice that isn't a client of his, and especially his clients. So he has an amazing piece of software. I'll let him tell you about all that stuff. But when it comes to AI, I spent 9 months going through MIT's generative AI program, kind of building a bunch of stuff, all of that stuff. It is quite complex, and I'll be really honest, most people do it wrong, and they just use the term AI without really knowing what it means. When I have questions or when I'm thinking through things, Iggy's one of the people that I think about talking to. So guys, give him a huge round of applause. Iggy.
Thank you, my man. Mic check. Can everybody hear me? Yeah. Was lunch good? I just want to say how grateful I am for Dean, for Sean, for Will, for Peyton, and the Hardly Selling team. The fact that everybody's here is just like, this is a win. You know, we get to be in a room like this to sharpen our tools and to improve and get better at what we're doing in a way that allows us to advance towards our goals. And it's such a privilege to be able to take time away from the chaos of our day-to-day to be in a room like this. So I just want to honor the people who put their blood, sweat, and tears into making an event like this happen. So I'm very, very grateful to be in the room. Today, we're going to be diving into the revenue leaks, how businesses are hemorrhaging 30 to 60% of their pipeline, and how to stop it. And this is really the event, the culmination of stuff that I put together based on studying my own businesses and looking at where we're leaking revenue. Now, I know we've already kind of showed hands. I want to see like how many business owners do we have in the room? Again, like show of hands, business owners, cool. And then the show of hands, how many closers are sitting in the room who love to talk to people who can afford their offer? And then has anyone ever said like, we need more leads? Feed me. I need more leads. And then for the business owners, how are you currently acquiring clients? VSL funnel, webinar funnel, raise your hand. IG DMs, raise your hand. Challenge funnels, raise your hand. Community funnels, low ticket, SLO. Okay. So when you're thinking about your business and when you're thinking about your work, whether you're a sales professional, be it an AE, closer, setter, it doesn't matter. Do you look at your week and you're like, anybody ever feel like I'm just leaving money on the table? Does anyone ever feel like you're just not getting enough out of your team? And how many of us, be honest, Do you feel like the idea of scaling what you are currently doing is going to burn you out? Can we tell on ourselves a little bit and just be honest? Like you think about growing your business and the idea of just like doing 10x more of what I'm doing, you're like, F me. Like if I have to do that, like hell no. All right. So I want us to be honest. Right. And how many of us are actually using AI inside of their sales process? Who wants to use AI inside of their sales process but have no idea where the hell to start? Okay. And for those of you who didn't raise your hands, do you believe AI can't replace the human touch? And do you believe the only way to book more calls is to spend more money on ads or just pound out more dials, bro? How many of us? It's okay if you can tell on yourself a little bit. And then do you believe scaling ad spend and lead flow means having to hire more people? You need more butts and seats to handle that volume. And if you do, we're gonna dive into the 5 revenue leaks, all right? And if your sales process, 80% of your sales process depends on humans, then you're losing money due to human error and inefficiency that can be improved. And I can prove it with some simple math. But first, let me tell you what happened. I watched the film. Back at UCLA, we spent hours watching film after every game. Can you guess what sport I played? Volleyball? Is it that obvious? I was a basketball player. I'm kidding, I actually played football. I also played basketball, but I got scholarship offers for football. But we didn't study film to see what we did right, but you'd study film to see the gaps, to see where the defense broke down and where we were losing yards. Every serious professional athlete watches film. I watch film with my brother, who plays for the 49ers. Used to play for the Cowboys, which is why I'm still rocking this merch. They traded him a couple weeks ago, so I need new gear. And then with my older brother, who used to play for the Giants, we'd study film religiously all the time. Watching film allows you to see your unfiltered reality of how you really showed up. Coach would be like, Iggy, you blew that play. I'm like, no, I didn't. I was in position, and then we play the film back, and it's like, I was completely out of position. I was running to the wrong place, and it's like, yeah, there's no arguing with film because it's a real playback of what actually took place. And it allows you to thoroughly study your competition and figure out the weaknesses. And then it hit me, I'd never done that with my sales process. Like actually going through the entire sales process from click to close, like thoroughly studying it. So I started to track every lead through the pipeline. It's a very tedious work. And the work that Will does to audit sales teams, like he goes through every single thing from click to close. Like he goes through that entire thing. It's a very tedious process. So I respect him a ton for being willing to do that. If you haven't booked like an audit and have Hardly Selling audit your sales process, they do a thorough job of doing so. All right. So I did that and found something very ugly. 5 areas where we're losing yards. Sales, right? Not 1, not 2, not 3, 5 specific places where revenue was hemorrhaging out of my business every single day. And here's the truth nobody tells you. Every business in this room is pouring water into a leaky bucket. More leads, more ads, more setters, but nobody's patching the holes that are systemic. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you each hole. I'm gonna give you the math, and then I'm going to kill the 3 lies keeping you from plugging them with AI. And if you're a business owner, you'll leave with the dollar amount your business is leaking. And if you're a sales professional working on an offer, you'll discover a new revenue stream within the current offer you're in and a revenue stream that pays you every single month. We feel good about those? If I deliver on those promises, are we gonna be time well spent? Awesome. Now for you guys that don't know, my name is Iggy Odighizuwa. When you get stretched out like this by another grown-ass man, you kind of become shameless. You know what I mean? There's nothing more emasculating than being in that position by another human being. So I just want to let you know there's no ego up here I want to share. I have been in the lows of lows. I've been in those positions in business where I just feel like my business is just stretching me out in the most awkward ways possible. So I just feel like this was just a great visual for the highs and lows of business. All right. So I think you should vet people before you learn from them. So here's my little rap sheet. I built my first seven-figure online business called Try 180 Coaching. This was back in 2020. Since then, we've taken 27 other businesses to seven figures. And now I'm working on taking my sixth business to 8 figures. And I spent 8 years of my life in a village in Africa, in Nigeria, called Benin. And I'm the founder of Charlie AI, but more on that later. I've become the guy that some of the biggest names in the space come to when they want to utilize AI inside of their sales operations. And I've been very, very fortunate to peek behind the curtains on some really phenomenal brands, 8-figure, 9-figure brands, some brands that are doing things at an incredible level. So these are some of the businesses I've been able to work with behind the scenes, and there's a ton more. But we're gonna dive into what I've spent building my own high-ticket online businesses to teach you what I've learned today. This brand, we spent $1.1 million on ads. This brand, we spent $227,000. This brand, we spent $929,000. These are all internal brands that we owned. And in this brand, we spent $220,000. That's over $3 million on ad spend on businesses that I grew to hate with a passion. All right, how many of us have built a business before that you just kind of like every single day is a bit of a drag and you feel like you're pushing this perpetual boulder up this mountain and you're like, I have no idea when this is gonna end. So I can share that because I've been right there in the trenches and I'm sharing from firsthand experience. This isn't some made up shit from watching somebody else's video and regurgitating their knowledge. It's just time spent under the bar, putting in the damn reps to the point of failure. And the reason I hated those businesses is because there's so much input and so little output to show for the amount of shit that had to be done every single day. So much inputs, little outputs. And I know some of you guys are in this position here. And the reason why is just overwhelmed with absolutely zero leverage. Because everything dependent on other people showing up at their best for us to get the results that we needed to grow and scale. So I have to find a better way. And I'm proud to say by the grace of God that we built a better way. What I needed then, now is Charlie AI. This is the tool that changed how I build businesses and sales teams. I refuse to partner with a business. I refuse to launch a company without using it. All right, and what I'm going to share with you are my personal results. This is a little disclaimer. And I'm not saying you will see results like this, and I'm most certainly not promising you're going to get results like this. You could be a lazy pile of shit for all I know. Or you could be clinically dumb. And there's nothing wrong with clinically dumb people. I hope that doesn't offend anybody, but that's just the fact, right? So these are my results. These are my outcomes. And I just want to break down what I've learned from studying my own businesses, plugging in those gaps. And hopefully if you're not a lazy pile of shit or clinically dumb, you can take some of those things and implement it on your own. All right, cool. So here's payment processes for one of our brands. In 2025, we did $2.2 million. And stats for the 2026 year to date for the same brand. We've done $2.7 million in the first 3.5 months of April from sets closed from Charlie. These are cash collected from sets closed from my own brands. And the brand that has done that is done more in the last 3 months than we did the entire year of 2025. So just let that sink in a little bit. For the entire year of 2025, we've been able to do more in the first 4.5 months. And the thing that we did differently, we went from 2 closers to 8, spent over $422,000 on ads to produce 2.7 in cash collected, not revenue, cash collected. And the crazy part, all of that was done without a single human appointment setter. Not a single one. I have nothing against appointment setters. I had a team of 40 full-time setters at one point. But that was done as a case study just to see what is possible without a single one. Why do I show you all that? Just because I'm a believer in business that you just need to walk the damn walk. There's too many people that just try and share things without any context on like, what is the experience? Like, how do I know you're not just full of shit or just making things up? So I just want to just lower your guard a little bit, open your mind to learn something new, and hopefully you just walk away with things that you can implement within your business and new ideas for how you can plug and streamline your sales process. All right, because Charlie allows me to be a present father and a loving husband to my vanilla queen. Anybody who knows me, like, that's my vanilla queen, and we got a baby number 3 on the way, and I love my family. They light me up. When I said I spent 8 years of my life in a village, this is it. I got to visit this village in 2017. I was crazy enough to go back for another 3.5 years of pain from 2013 to 2017. And I got to visit where I spent the first few years of my memorable life here. And it did not change. So the picture of me on the right is when I was a kid. I was about like 7 years old, 6 years old. The picture on the left is like what I took of that area, and it hadn't changed much. In fact, it looks like it got worse. It was just kind of crazy to me. It's like, it did not progress at all. And that's what happens when you lack innovation. That's what happens when there are people too stuck in the weeds, incapable of innovating, right? And the fact that I'm here, I've won at life. So I'm like, you guys have already seen me stretched out. Like, I've won at life. The fact that I'm here. So now let's dive into what you came for. Let me show you some simple math about how you're losing every single month, and you probably don't even know it. And I don't think anyone got into business to lose money. So the industry average for high ticket space is about a 90%, 10% lead to book rate. So that means 90% of ad spend is being wasted, right? Because the team is harder to contact people. It's harder to get a hold of leads. So it's about a 10% lead to book. So that means for every 1,000 leads you generate, here's what actually happened. You get 100 appointments, 900 leads wasted, 90% of your ad spend just burnt, plus you're paying additional payroll just to scale, all right? So even with the best sales team in history, I love my sales team, by the way. How many people actually love their sales team? All right, not enough hands went up. I love closers. I love my sales team. But even with the best sales team, let me ask you some questions. Do you or your sales rep ever have to take a shit? Do they ever have a bad day? Do they ever get broken up with? Does anything ever happen to confuse or distract them? And God forbid, do they ever have to sleep? Those lazy assholes, they gotta sleep? Are you kidding me? If you answered any of these questions as yes, then you're better off supplementing your team with technology, because technology can fill in the gaps to make their workflow a lot more efficient. So instead of trying to get my team to work harder, I was like, how do I make their life so much easier to the point where the quality of life of the people who are working on my team is exceptional and they love being a part of our organization? All right, so I took it on me to like, how do I figure out how to make their lives easier instead of requiring them to work harder? So here are the goals that are costing you money every single month. The first one was a 47-hour funeral. 78% of deals go to whoever responded first. Not to whoever is the best, literally to whoever responds first. And the average business owner takes 47 hours to respond to a lead. That's not a response. That's a funeral for your leads that you're spending money to acquire. So imagine walking to a restaurant and 10 people walk in, 6 of them stand at the in line and then walk out because nobody ever tried to sit them down. That's your sales pipeline right now. All right, when I audit, we had a team of 40 and I was seeing leads that were just never responded to. All right, so take out your calculator and just do some simple back-of-napkin math. How many leads did you generate last month? Put that in. I want you to actually do the math. How many leads was generated in the last 30 days? Plug it into your calculator. And then times that number by 0.35. Who's doing the math with me right now? I want to share the numbers. Pick on you. What's your number? How many leads? I want to actually share a number so we can actually unpack it. So who's got the amount of leads that generated last month? Go ahead. 750 leads times 0.35. $52,000 right there. All right, so if you look at the film and you actually take time to look at it, Do the math and figure out what that actually looks like. And then hole number 2 is what I call the quitter's curve. 80% of sales happen after the 5th follow-up, and 92% of reps just quit before they ever get there. So you're paying people to quit at mile 20 when the finish line is at mile 26. And here's kind of how that breaks down. Most reps will do the first follow-up, and then only 22 make it to the second follow-up, and then 14% make it to the third follow-up, 12 make it to the fourth, and only 8% make it to the 5th, which is where the money is actually at. And so I pulled back a conversation. You're not gonna be able to see it, it's a little rough, but just this is the actual conversation from the AI that I had with the lead. So the lead comes in, it says, hey, this is Nick from Consulting Profits, saw you requested information about this. Mind if I ask you a few questions? Crickets. Follow-up number 1, still there? Crickets. Open to a call? Crickets. Follow-up number 3, still with me? Would love to know what you're looking for. Crickets. How many people would have been extremely uncomfortable by now? I know I would. I'm like, I'm moving on to the next lead that came in and was willing to respond. Follow-up number 5, crickets. I don't know how many people are willing to just be this persistent because it feels weird, right? Like it legitimately feels weird. It's like, bro, get a life. Like, stop pestering me. You know what I mean? Follow-up number 6, still crickets. And then they're like, ask me. Ask me whatever you want. After they finally replied, then 3 back and forth iterations from the lead to qualify them, another one to pre-sell them, and then set them on the calendar and end up closing for $7,500 PIF. Which is kind of crazy, because when you look at that, you're like, by that many points, you're like, dude, like, that lead is dead. Stop following up with them. But that's where most of the money is at. It's in that professional persistence, right? And humans we feel weird doing that. AI doesn't. It doesn't care. And then hole number 3 is the tire kickers on the calendar. How many are feeling like they're talking to a lot of people who just aren't the best fit? Is that a lot of us? We're just talking to a lot of people who aren't the best fit. So my closers were spending about 40% of their time talking to people who were never going to buy. On a 30 to 40% no-show rate, of those who showed, 40% of them weren't a good fit. They weren't qualified. The meaning, like, they just didn't have the financial means to actually afford the offer. So my closers were trying to close air. And so what we did, we ended up building something we call a buyer IQ. So before Charlie has a conversation with a lead, before it sets them on the calendar, it's gonna run some financial enrichment and find out exactly, I don't know about you, but we pocket watch around here. We pocket watch our leads. We wanna know how much money is actually, what is their disposable income, right? So we run it compliantly and we're getting the IRS income, available credit, and their credit score, right? So this happens right before the AI sets them on the calendar. It doesn't run it for everyone and their mother. And the reason being is because it's just reckless to run it for every single person when you don't know their intent, right? So Charlie will engage with the lead, follow up with them professionally until it gets them to reply, then engages with them and makes sure they actually want the thing that you have, and then pre-sells them and sees if they're ready to commit to booking a call. And right before it actually confirms the call, it rips this. If they pass it, then it sets them on the calendar so that the leads that are actually getting booked is weeding out tire kickers before they ever see the sales calendar, right? So once we deployed Buyer IQ, when you saw that example that I shared earlier, 91% of the leads that got set for the reps were offered. And this is based off 2,580 appointments that were set year to date. So that's not a small thing. That's like less than 10% of the leads that they're talking to that are a bad fit. So they're getting legitimate at-bats. All right, and then hole number 4 is speaking one language in a multilingual world. So what I mean by this is that your leads are everywhere. You have leads that are willing to respond to SMS. Instagram, Facebook message, WhatsApp, web chat, phone, iMessage, and email. I mean, I don't respond to email. I didn't include email here because I don't check my email, and we've ran the reports on it. There's not a lot of juice to squeeze conversationally via email. But most teams are calling them and trying to follow up with email. Some may do automated SMS, but most of your leads are like willing to have a text conversation, not really willing to have a phone conversation with someone that they've never met before. And then one of my favorite ones is hole number 5 was a graveyard shift. When do you browse on Instagram or TikTok or social media? At night. I click on ads when I'm done working during the day and I see something that's interesting. In the evening is when I personally click on ads. When's the last time you click on an ad in the middle of your workday? I haven't, right? Sometimes it's at 9 p.m. on the couch, Sunday morning, 6 a.m. at the gym, right? Your leads are the same. But our teams are clocking out at 5. And why? Because it's a humane thing to do. I'm not running a sweatshop, you know? My team needs a life too. So, but 60% of your leads are coming in when nobody's working. The 60% of the ad spend just gone. All right, so if we add it all up, speed to lead, $210,000. Follow-up is about $150,000 based on the percentage of reps that actually get there. Tire kickers is another $80,000 based on 40% of them being bad fits. Closing channel gaps is about $60K. And then graveyard shifts was another $120. So for us, we're leaking like $620,000 in our pipeline. All right, just from doing the math. So you might be like, so Iggy, can I hire more people to do that? Yes, you can, and I have done that. I've played that game. Team of 40 full-time setters. Like there's some people here that have bigger teams, but that's the game I've played before, and I refuse to play that game again. So if you want to fill the lease, you need like 3 to 5 new hires, which is about 15 to 25K in payroll, 24/7 shift coverage, perfect execution, 0 bad days, and it's still probably calling in sick on Monday and quit by month 4 because it's a miserable existence. So once you see the breakdown, you can't unsee it. So you gotta fix the scheme. Before I show you the fix, we're gonna kill 3 lies probably keeping you stuck right now. First one is AI can't sell. It sounds like a robot. People can tell. I almost didn't continue working on Charlie because when we launched it, it was terrible. It was rough. This is like back in 2023 when we launched it. It was rough, but it was still producing results. So I ran a test. I took 200 leads that my team hadn't touched, gave half to my best setter, and then the other half to AI, same leads, same offer, same script. My setter booked 11 calls and the AI booked 27. And it's not because the AI was better. So people will look at this and be like, oh, AI is better at setting than setters. That's not the case. But the part that broke my brain is when I looked at the conversation, I read through the conversation that AI had, and the leads couldn't tell that they were talking to the AI. Most of the leads just couldn't tell. I could tell. I was looking at some of those conversations. I'm like, man, how do you not know that is AI? That is awful. I could tell, but they couldn't. And so letting this limiting belief that they're going to care is keeping so many people stuck and preventing them from innovating. AI doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be there. The best response at 10 p.m. beats the perfect response at 9 a.m. tomorrow. So on average, we're getting 58% of leads will respond when they're followed up with properly. Not open, not click, respond. And if you set them properly, 50 to 70% of them are gonna show up for a call. So your leads don't care if it's AI or human. They care if somebody shows up. And you'll get maybe 5% of the leads who really are adamant about not speaking with AI, but I'm okay with that trade-off. I really am. The lie number 2 is I'm not a tech person. I've tried AI before, it was a nightmare. And this kills more objections than any leads ever could. So we had a client named Amon, and he runs a law firm. The man does not use Slack. He's hard to get a hold of, barely uses email. And his exact words was, I went to law school so I wouldn't have to do tech. We told him you don't need to do the tech, we build it. 3 days later, he went live. 1,764 leads processed and 109 qualified appointments and $100,000 in new revenue in 30 days. And he didn't have to learn the software. He still barely goes in there. So you don't need to be technical. You just need to know your sales process And if you know your sales process and can document it and translate it to AI, you can train AI to run it for the most part, right? So for us, we feed it, we spar with it, we train it, and then we go live. And then line number 3 is my business is unique. How many of us are selling to sophisticated leads? Sophisticated leads. They're sophisticated. They're gonna tell it's AI. Everyone thinks their offer is unique. I'm just telling you right now. I've seen it too many times. It does not matter, right? We've got a bunch of high-ticket B2B services that are crushing it right now across 10 accounts that we're actively tracking on the high-ticket B2B side. They're doing about $3.5 million a month in cash collected from sets closed. That's on the B2B side, right? We got fitness offers crushing it, law firms, real estate. Like, it doesn't matter. Every industry has the same holes. If leads come in and need to be followed up with inside of your organization, you have those 5 holes. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's not an industry problem. It's a simple physics problem. Humans can't respond in 60 seconds. They just can't. And humans can't follow up 8 times without quitting or forgetting. Like, sometimes you just get busy and forget. The amount of people I forget to get back to just because I'm busy is ridiculous. And a human can't simultaneously cover 8 channels. So that's not a judgment, it's just physics. It's just not possible because the job is inhumane. So the solution has to be. So same leads, same offer, 1,000 leads, 23 appointments, 1,000 leads with the 5 holes patch, 75 appointments. So leads that are coming in, like, they're going through the entire process and it's compounding over time. Charlie is something that we developed for ourselves first and for you second. Charlie is built with NLP, deep learning, and a proprietary patent-pending NLU layer purpose-built for sales. And who would like to see how it works? Let's dive on in. So think about your sales pipeline, right? There's a sequential stage that every lead needs to go through in order for them to be activated inside of your sales process and become someone who's viable for your organization to serve, right? So every single sales pipeline kind of looks like this. Lead enters, they complete some type of application or a triage, then they get set for a sales call, then they have the sales call, then some type of proposal happens, and then they become a client, right? That's kind of like the straight line. So the way that it works is that every single stage, we have an agent that we configure that plugs in. So lead enters, if they don't submit an application or book a triage, Charlie engages to set them for a triage or engages to get them to complete the application. If they don't do that after 14 days, then a separate activation agent goes through. If they complete an application or a triage, and they're qualified and they don't get set, then another agent comes in, has a conversation, and set them for their call. If they're qualified and they haven't done that step after 14 days, a database reactivation agent comes in to try and reoffer them something valuable, something unique, something different, something trying to hook them in, mini course, whatever assets you provide our team. Once they book a call, then a confirmation agent reaches out to make sure that they're actually going to show up to their call, confirming their appointment, and making sure that they're good. If they no-show or cancel, there's a separate agent that reaches out to them to rebook all the no-shows, and a separate one that rebooks all the cancellations. If they have a sales call and your team didn't close them, this is my favorite one, hands down, is our reoffer agent. After about 14 days, it reaches out to reoffer them something unique, some type of bonus along with the offer that they heard, and gets them back onto the calendar with the closer. So this is where there's so much, we've printed so much money from this singular agent, it's laughable. Because these are low-hanging fruits. These are leads that I've heard your offer, they were a good fit, right? And there was something logistically preventing them from actually pulling the trigger. The amount of money our clients print from this singular agent is crazy. And then if you have a pending, someone is pending, you've sent proposals, whatever it is, but they haven't completed the next step, you can configure another agent to do so. Somebody signs up and hasn't booked their onboarding call, you can have an agent reach out to book them in for their onboarding call. If they've been a client for more than 30 days, another one reach out to them to see, hey, how are things going? On a scale of 1 to 10, do you really love this? If they say 8, 9, or 10, tries to get them for a referral. If they say less than an 8, escalates it and books it with someone on the team to try and figure out why they're not happy. But you can start to see the amount of people you would need to kind of fill in every gap in the pipeline. It's ridiculous. So we train Charlie on all the different pipeline stages based on their sales process, based on that. So it's a lot of work. And with Buyer IQ, it makes everything, you start creating a compounding engine that doesn't require you to have to work so hard to get the same results. This is happening 24/7, while you sleep, while your team sleeps, while they take shits, while they're at lunch. While we're at lunch right now, one of our clients was like, hey, my closer just closed an 8K deal. That's the best feeling. Another client was like, hey, Charlie set like 3 appointments this morning alone, just while I was here chilling. Right? While they're having a bad day, it gives you the ability to not have to be so stuck in the weeds, and you get to work on your business. Charlie never stops. Same quality conversations every single time, unlimited simultaneous conversations, 0 human limitations. So do you see how AI can help you scale without you or your team getting burned out? Yes? And do you see how it can help you increase your sales output without spending more money on ads or pounding out more dials, bro? And you see how it's the most powerful technology since the internet for sales teams. All right, if you're not using it, someone that has a business like mine is going to adopt it and make their life so easy for their team that they're able to attract, we headhunt some of the best closers for our offer, because we can be like, hey man, like you get to sit back and watch these calls start to populate onto your calendar, and we're maximizing your on-call time. And all these leads are qualified. You get to sit back and talk to qualified leads who have the financial means to offer what we sell. What an incredible opportunity, right? And guess what? If somebody no-shows, forget about them. We have a system that'll follow up with them to get them back on the calendar. If they cancel, forget about it. Like, you just get to show up and be present for every single sales conversation. How attractive do you think that is of an offer for a closer to be on? It's very attractive. So there you have it. I gave you the recipe to our Bugatti AI sales system. All right, that's how every single company that I build, we're plugging in several different agents throughout the entire pipeline, throughout the entire sales operations. Any opportunity that requires somebody on my team to have to engage a lead, I want to think through, how can I have Charlie do that for them so they can just focus on talking to more of the leads and making more offers, because that's when they're spending the best use of their time, talking to more leads, making more offers. And if they talk to more leads and make more offers, they're making more money, taking home more commissions, and ultimately driving more revenue for our company. So how many in the room had a limiting belief about using AI that was completely obliterated? I want to see a show of hands. Like, how many of us are like, I actually had a limiting belief about AI? Don't be shy. It's okay. And then who would like to hear how to get started with Charlie? Let's look at it. So how we onboard you, get on an onboarding call, you complete enrollment, we go live, we do go live planning, and then we start discussing strategy. And then once we're live, we're doing performance reviews, strategy reviews, and then we have weekly ongoing workshops. So Charlie, typically our packages, our core license starts at $3,000 a month. You can add voice for an additional $500 a month, iMessage lines for additional $500. You can try and do the setup yourself, or you can have our team set it up for you for an extra $3,000. But we're at SalesCon, so anyone here at SalesCon, if you want to talk to Drew in the back, you can get started with 0 implementation, and we'll give you $1,000 off using Charlie. So if you want to have a serious conversation about it, there's no enrollment link here, because we have to make sure it's a 10 out of 10 fit, and our team is paid on retention. You'll have to talk to Drew in the back or book a demo and make sure it's an actually good fit. So now you can go in, book that demo, and with no pressure whatsoever. They're not paid on commissions. They're paid on retention. So if it's not a good fit and they can't guarantee that you're going to see value, they're not going to let you enroll. It's just a matter of fact. So if you want to book a call, you can do so. And then for closers and setters and A's in the room, if you know any business owner, your offer owner, you love them to have a Bugatti AI sales system, you can sign up for our partner program at charlieai.io. @salescon.com/partner-program. And if you can get them to use Charlie, we'll give you a 10% recurring kickback for getting your offer owner or business owners to use the product. Any questions?
You guys go into like the high level HubSpot?
Yeah, we have a native integration with Go High Level, HubSpot. Close is going to be out in about a week and a half. Alloware is coming in like 3 weeks. Twilio and Zapier. Thank you guys very much.